the mic. I want to say thank you for coming to the first SoCal VegFest here at Orange Coast College. And I was brought in by the organizers, the lead organizers, Laura and Robert. And we met actually at an opening of a vegan shoe store. And I don't know if you guys, it's a brand new one, and it's on the, I forgot what street it was on, but we met there, and then we were part of the Green Festival together. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of the Green Festival. Excellent. So the Green Festival happens at the LA Convention Center every year, and it was started in San Francisco. And what they do is they go towards zero waste as well. The first time I ever did zero waste, which is what I do, and why they brought me on into this event, is to make it as green as possible. And the way I did that was very simple. And just a little background about myself, I've been an aspiring vegan since I was 15 years old, and I am now much older than that. And I'm very, and I eat as much vegan as possible. It does get difficult. I was listening to the speaker before me about being a vegan person, because starting when you're 15 in Los Angeles wasn't that easy, but it's so much easier now. And also just being in SoCal area and hanging out down here and going to all the local restaurants, vegan restaurants. There's so many, and we're so lucky, and it's so exciting for me, because when I was younger, I didn't have many options. And people, were like vegan, but now it's, a lot more accepted, and people are interested in going vegan, and they ask me questions, and they're like, well, how can I do it? Or, this is what I do now, I would like to do this. And so it's by talking to each other that, we can help everyone else go vegan. And what I found is that my journey towards going vegan was very similar to my journey going towards zero waste. So this is the other side of me, which is my environmental bright green side. So about, I say 6 years now, I started a company, Bright Green Events and Consulting, and I do zero waste events just like this, large events, small events. This is the first one that they're doing zero waste, so I collaborated with the maintenance crew, so they're handling all landfill and recycling. But then what I did was worked with the sustainability department here on campus. And I got us some bins, some compost bins, because mostly this is a food event. And we're going to be creating a lot of food waste. But I don't look at food as waste. I look at it as resource recovery. So what we're doing is under the tree, in the middle of all of the food vendors, we're collecting all of the food waste. And we're diverting it from landfill. And the reason we want to do that is we want a clean, uncontaminated compost bin. And we have 5 out there right now. And what I did even before this event was I spoke to every single vendor, either myself or my partner, Jonathan. We spoke to every single vendor. There are 51 here today, 51 vendors here. And we reached out to all of them, every single one, and we said, look, we're trying to go towards zero waste at this event. What can you do? Like what are you using now? Let's try to use this. The recycling facility here on campus actually only takes number 1 and number 2 plastic. So I was asking all the vendors, can you please only use number 1 and number 2 plastic? And some of them said yes, some of them did it, some of them didn't. And that's a learning process for all of us. So, this year was the first one. It's kind of like we consider it like a pilot project. So if people see the benefit and the value in composting and not just throwing away our food, because food waste can be turned back into resource. And there are many ways to do that. So what we're doing today, to let you know, is all the compost bins that we fill up, they're going to be totally contamination free, because I got volunteers on it, and they will tell you, and they will use a grappler and they'll take it out. So some of my hardcore volunteers, sometimes I'm guilty of doing it. I shouldn't say that because I have my mom in the audience and she's gonna get mad. But I use gloves most of the time, but sometimes, because I'm so die-hard compost, I'll get in there and I'll make sure that it's totally contamination free. And those bins are gonna go to the company Athens. So we're working with the students, with the vendors, the businesses, and also with the hauling crew, Athens. And what they're gonna do is take the bins with nice quality controlled compost bins, and they're gonna put them in their facility, their compost facility. And they have their way of doing it, their special recipe. I would love to see a compost facility down here in the OC, maybe even one in Los Angeles. Right now, the nearest one is about 4 hours away from us, so the more local we can do, the better. This event is totally going towards zero waste because all the vendors made an effort today. So sometimes their food was prepackaged, and that prepackaged food, you know, I mean, it is what it is. So, but if we show vendors, you know, our favorite restaurants. I mean, I was calling my favorite restaurants. I was calling, you know, I was like, yeah, I eat at your restaurant all the time. Can you please, like, you know, just use paper products or cardboard? Use number 1, number 2, only plastics. Because anything else now for this event is considered landfill. And again, that's just a waste of our resources. And that food waste now can be converted into fertilizer, and you can sell it to the farmers, sell it to the farms. If you have a good, it has to be closed loop, of course. You have to, you know, the farmer or the farm that you're buying from you, they need to know what kind of quality, what's in it, what they're growing. But if you notice, it's like a web. It's like a, you know, we always talk about the food web, but there's also the recycling, you know, the symbol of recycling even goes around and around, and we have to keep that going. And the way we do that is just by collaborating and by talking to other departments and then working together. And I'm really proud of what we did today, and thank you so much. And I know, you know, I have a few more minutes to talk, but I would love to open it up to some questions. And then I can, you know, kind of go back into explaining some stuff, because I feel like zero waste, there's a lot of questions, and what we're doing is we're going towards zero waste. Officially, what zero waste means, what the definition of zero, and by the way, today is World Zero Waste Day. I don't know if anyone knew that, but it is. It's also Day of the Dead, and it's World Zero Waste Day. So anyway, so the definition of zero waste is to divert as much waste from landfill as possible. The more we separate it out, the more they are considered resources and can be recycled, reused, or used for something else. So again, the compost can be used for fertilizer. I got my start actually in New York feeding the food scraps to worms. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of vermicomposting. Verma means worms. So the worms eat the kitchen scraps and all the other scraps, and they poop out what we call black gold, which is like black gold. People use it on their tomatoes or whatever they're trying to grow, and it's like super grow for plants. And we also harvest the worm pea. We call it worm tea, and that's full of nutrients and things for your plants and, you know, edibles. So it's a resource. By just putting it in landfill, we're throwing it away, and we're not harnessing the energy and the resources that we could be using. So I'm going to open it up for questions, and we'll see where this goes. Yes, gentleman in the back.
Thank you for this talk tonight. Today, I've heard that methane is 20 times worse than CO2 for warming the planet, and that part of the interest is to not have biodegradable stuff go to a landfill because it creates methane.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that, please?
Absolutely. So what happens to the food waste when it does end up in landfill is that it breaks down, you know, and creates methane gas. And what happens is when the methane gas becomes a problem, there are some facilities now that are harvesting the methane gas, but most facilities are not. So the methane just goes into our environment. If we can set, for example, in Europe and in most countries in Asia, they do separate out food waste. And that has eliminated a lot of their methane pollution problem. So why can't we do that here? You know, it's not that hard. We just have to educate people. Anybody else? Questions about, yes?
So going to zero waste, I've been trying to do it, I forget all the time, but what are the like 2 or 3 top really, really easy things you can do to go zero waste?
Excellent question. Okay, just like the recycling side, it's simple to think about. There are 3 arrows. It's reduce, reuse, recycle. I always add compost to that. Reduce, reuse, recycle, compost. But what you can do is just reduce the amount of stuff that you use, reuse what you can, and then recycle what you can. So be aware of what can be recycled. I didn't bring any examples here today, but usually what I do at large events like this is I train the volunteers by showing them, you know, examples of cups and plates and, you know, forks and knives, and what is compostable, what is not. And I would have loved to do that for you guys, but I didn't want to haul in a trash can, a waste station. I don't even call them trash cans. I call them waste stations, resource recovery stations. And the only way we can go towards zero waste actually also, then to finish your question, is, so those are the top three. That's all you have to do, and you're going towards zero waste. I wanted to finish the definition of zero waste, which was, it's 95% or more diverted from landfill. If you're not 95% or more, you're not officially zero waste. That's why I call my efforts towards zero waste. Just like when I started out becoming vegetarian, I went towards being vegan, because that was my goal, that was my ideal. So zero waste is the goal, is the ideal, but we gotta do the best we can with what we have. And you do the best you can. And yeah, so any more questions? Yes?
What are some resources, websites, blogs we can go to educate ourselves?
Absolutely. I am, you know, we're in Orange County, we're near the beach. Raise your hand if you've heard of Surfrider Foundation. They're amazing, and they're keeping our waste, not only out of, you know, they're helping with recycling, but keeping the water quality of our area clean. They do beach cleanups, they do policy things. There's a new thing that they're doing. It's called ocean-friendly restaurants. So one of my goals with the vendors at this show was to show them how easy it was and affordable for them to go towards zero waste. And then they could be part of this larger program called Ocean-Friendly Restaurants, part of Surfrider Foundation. So I would highly recommend Surfrider Foundation. Heal the Bay is an amazing resource in terms of water quality. If we want to talk about recycling, I always have to plug electronic waste. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of e-waste. Yes. So, you know, at an event like this, it would be ideal to collect e-waste, but we need the manpower. And there's a great organization in downtown Los Angeles, and it's called Isidore Recycling. And they hire people with records, you know, that normally couldn't get a job anywhere else, to do the electronic waste recycling. They also utilize a lot of volunteers, as do I. I couldn't do anything without superstar volunteers green team. That's how towards zero waste works. You use people too around you as resources. Yes. Okay. And yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I looked online, and a lot of them were saying that I am one that it's not really,
Just the liners. Yeah. Did you notice? The question was, she was looking for an alternative to liners for bins. And there are many different ways to do it.